Hello, hello Facebook. So this is quite a big topic and I'm going to do it in not too long a time. So I'm going to maybe just introduce it and then come back to it again. And this is about longing, the desire for another or to be met, or the desire to belong, the longing for something that you don't have. It's the feeling, a sensation of lying in bed alone and wishing there was someone there. It's about longing for connection, for relationship. Hello, my lovelies. Hi, Rob. Can't wait to see you in a few months' time. So, yeah, today is kind of like a sensitive topic because no one really wants to admit that they are in perpetual longing. And it's just something that's coming up again and again with people, certainly in the last few weeks. But it's always that way when you work in this line of work. When you deal with something in yourself, then you hold the keys and the codes so that others can unlock that blockage or that pattern. And the big one coming up is this longing. And what does it mean? And I was really blessed to come with this topic with doing a session with Dave Rock, who's amazing. Please look him up. Who can hold space for you when you're going through all sorts of stuff. And he helped me, he held space for me so that I could really go into this longing thing. And I was celibate for like 4 years, pretty much on and off, as in a couple of goes, but pretty much celibate. And the idea of being single and going back to this sense of longing or looking for made me feel sick. And I just was like, in all desperation, I do not want to go back to longing. What is this longing? And he asked the magical question, what's underneath the longing? And because I was in a deep space of exploring, I was able to ask, what is below the longing inside me? And the longing was hiding betrayal. And below the betrayal was despair. And below the despair was loss. And below the loss was humiliation. And below the humiliation was a little girl looking at a teddy or having lost a teddy, some sort of longing for an object that had gone missing or that wasn't there. So the longing was nothing to do. Longing was nothing to do with a powerful gesture of love towards someone else. The longing was despair, humiliation, and betrayal, and loss. So the energy that when you're in longing, maybe there is an element of you wanting to express love in the world, possibly. But I think a lot of people, their longing is much deeper than that. There's a desperate need to attach onto something out there. So this is not easy to talk about because it spreads in different directions. So the longing actually can cover up quite toxic feelings or emotions. And when I went into the longing, it was like being in the image I got when I went into that was being in a whale stomach of pus. Nice. And rotting stuff. And I was just seeing it. It was almost a bit like a cartoon. And someone recently, a friend, Linda, told me that there's a whole myth around being in the whale stomach. Jacob and the whale or something like that. So I'm going to look it up. And so being in this stomach, seeing this stomach full of pus and horribleness, I was like, oh, this is absolutely disgusting. Like, get me out. Like, please, someone help me get out of this. Like, no wonder I don't want to be in longing. It looks like this. And I could see like little cardboard cutouts. So this is a bit what happens when I'm processing is I get very visual and I create a poem and a myth. It happens on its own, but I'm creating a poem and a myth around the language of my body. So my body can't speak to me in English like this. It shows me images. And then I've learned to work with these images as tools to alchemize my emotional state into a new one. I'm transmuting and transforming by using these images. So I think I've done a video on how the body speaks, so ages ago. So I'm looking at, and it's just gross. And I'm like, get me out of here. This is just awful. And I don't want to be in it. And I'm actually, instead of wanting to be in my process, I'm like, oh, I want to run away. This is just gross. And I could see all these little cardboard cutouts of people like trying to jump out of this person. I realized that, oh, they're my ancestors, you know, like long through long time. And I realized, you know, in my process, I'm like, oh my God, this is an ancient ancestral pattern. And it is, and I knew at that point, it's not my ancestors. It's not just the people in my ancestral tree. It's our collective ancestry. And since in the weeks since then, and I've been working with quite a few people on this longing thing, I am pretty much 100% sure that this piece we all have on some level. You might have dealt with it. Maybe you didn't come with it this time. Maybe you already dealt with it last time you were on Earth. But most people have this longing to be met and to be felt and to be seen and to be held and to blah, blah, and it's coming from a toxic place. And this is where I went into the toxic place, which was like oceans of pus and, yeah, toxic goo. And I could see my ancestors trying to jump out, and I was like, I want a way out, I want a way out. I don't want to be in this. It's just so uncomfortable. So if someone's meeting you and you like, I love you, I want to make a relationship with you, and they're a bit like, oh, I don't know, like, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this, or I'm not sure that you and I really work, even though you can feel the connection. It's because they're probably connecting to that uneasy space within you that is running through your veins and coursing through your cells and coursing through your aura and your ancestry and blah, blah, blah. And they're probably like, oh, I don't know, there's something a bit icky there. So I saw I saw that there was an opportunity for it to leak out. Like I saw like an opening. I created or saw an opening in this whale stomach, and all this horrible pus and my ancestors went with it into the ocean. It was such a relief. Like, oh my God, there's a way out. I can't quite remember how that happened, but there was because I was in there and seen it and acknowledged that there was that pus there that it needed to go somewhere, that eventually my system found a way out. But at the end, there was this. At the bottom of the stomach, there was still some pus and it couldn't get out the hole that had been created. So in my process, I realized I had to get in there with it. So I'm literally inside the whale stomach and I am like sifting through this horrible stuff and I'm like delirious in there. I see myself like Kali or something, like screaming and ripping at the stuff. Like I can actually smell the rotting stuff in there. And what I really believe it is, you know, 26,000 years of possibly, I think this is more to do with the feminine, to be honest, but every male will have the feminine bit. But this is the story of longing, where the feminine has felt betrayed, abandoned, not met, not fulfilled, not being able to express, and it's come out as needy or victim, or, you know, it's just come out as longing. Like longing not to be abandoned, longing not to be left, longing not to be all that. And it's been going on for so long, this wound. Not every woman, but just in our collective, there has been this wound that our human interaction something's not working. We're not being met at some level. I hope this is making sense to people. So I'm in the whale stomach and I'm feeling all the strings and like pus and I'm like pouring it on myself and screaming and I'm like feeling pretty crazy as I watch myself do this. And slowly, and this has been a theme as well, the strings of stuff become mycelium. And at that point I sigh a huge sigh of relief because I know that the mycelium is like under the ground. It's like this network of like fungus or something right under the whole of the earth, and I just relax because I know that that means I am buried. And at this point in the process I die, the part of me that has, you know, I managed to escape out of that pus of longing, and now I'm decomposing. The part of me that had lived that story, 26,000 years of that story living in my cells now, but in other people's cells, in the collective, it was decomposing. So that story is able to dissipate. And I saw myself turn into a skeleton and literally saw myself decompose. So the poem of longing that I was exploring becomes decomposure. And I feel all my flesh go, I feel complete relief, complete relaxation in my system as I'm not holding on to this old story. And at that point, I feel flowers like pop out of my mouth and out of my... That's why I've been wearing flowers a lot lately, because that's what happened in this thing. It's like a rebirth, growth, like there's room for life and beauty on the other side of this longing piece. And so the flowers emerging through my system, through the skeleton actually. And this is a bit of a funny bit of the story, but I become kind of like there's more life around me. And then I see Frida Kahlo, and she's got like all the red flowers. She looks almost pale white, like mycelium. And she's looking at me, and I'm like, do you have something to say to me? And she just, the message was, go and swagger. I don't know what that meant. I think that just meant go out there and go get them. And it was just like like a comedy moment of really life, art, beauty, you know, grit, go for it. And I think, I mean, I didn't even expect, to be honest, to share this part of the story. I've written notes about what I was going to talk about, and this wasn't it. And I just think that when we are in love with someone, or we really want to be with someone, or we fancy someone, or we wish we were with someone, that we really, 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 really need to look at where that is coming from, that longing. Is it predatory? Is it coming from a place of true acceptance and self-love? Or is it coming from a desperate need to fill a hole, to fill the need to not be betrayed, or to not feel abandoned? And that's really, I think that's so important. And it really, really, really spoke to me that maybe, you know, I'd been celibate by choice, but part of that was that I was in a fortress. I had built walls against love coming in and love coming out. And it was almost easier to be in longing than to actually have an interaction with someone. And then now I understand even more by going into the longing and what that actually looks like, how gross it was, and how repelling it probably is, you know, energetically. So doing that piece of work of releasing the longing and the betrayal and the humiliation and the abandonment and the blah 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 has meant, and I'm talking about collective patterns. It's not something that's happened to me. It's not like maybe I have been abandoned in different situations, but this is a bigger picture thing. This was like cellular ancestral imprinting. It's in the consciousness. It's in us. It's in all the mothers, all the daughters, and it's a story we need to change. And by going in, I've never felt so light. This like underlying, I mean, I'm a pretty happy person and really inspired and passionate, but there are moments like when you wake up in the morning, or when you're tired, or when things haven't gone your way, you're like, oh, I feel a bit sad. There's like an underlying sadness or something like that. That's gone. Like, aura transformation was a huge step in the right direction for me, and clearing a lot of energetic stuff and ancestral stuff. But this was like another level again, and it has been absolutely amazing to feel a lightness in my bones, in my body, and a real rebirth again. I'm feeling loved and lovable, and yeah, just quite amazing. And this is the kind of work that I'm bringing to the table with heart retrieval. And so when you have a heart retrieval, at the moment, I think this is probably the first thing I'll do with you before we even look at your relationships and what's going on, is looking at the longing. And what does it look like, your longing? Are you in a relationship and looking, you know, longing for deeper connection? Or are you, because at the end of the day, the longing is not for another. It's for you. The whole thing is about you. It's about coming into resonance with your own purity, love, innocence, joy, you're looking for you at all points in time. When you're looking for a partner out there, or you want to connect with someone and you think it's going to solve everything, you're looking for yourself. And in an aura transformation, we do a massive, amazing piece of work on integrating the masculine and feminine, which is, I believe, a key to self-love, and it is really powerful. But there is, deeper levels of self-love and self-acceptance. There are many keys to unlocking that in the system, and this longing and ancestral toxicity about it is a really big piece about coming into true self-acceptance, heavenly love with yourself. And the heart retrieval, once we do the longing piece, if it's needed, and we're looking at you in intimacy with others. So when you've fallen in love with someone, or you have an ex-partner, or you are in a relationship with someone, are you in an unhealthy attachment or need or something like that with the person, whether you're not together or together? And my firm belief, or the intention of the heart retrieval work, is to come from a whole heart. It's to be in your wholeness. It's to not... So this is like a work in progress as well, let's clear your heart threads and have 100%. I have 100% of my heart threads. Tomorrow you might have an interaction with someone and some little bits go back, or, like an old story gets triggered and a little bit goes back, but then you learn how to pull it all back. And then when you are sharing love with your child or a friend or a partner, you're coming from a whole place, not need and want and all that stuff. I spent 13 years of my life with 60% of my heart threads stuck with someone else's. And yes, I believe that there was some past life stuff and all that kind of thing, but that's not cool. There was moments of tears and despair and sadness and not understanding what the hell was going on and why I felt the way I did. And then when it finally figured it out and released, so much energy came through my body, and I was literally glowing, and then met someone that I really love. And I don't think that could have even happened, because more than half my heart was locked into an old story, just looping in a pocket of my consciousness, which is just repeating trauma again and again and again. So there's that bit. You pull your heart threads back from someone, whether you're with them or not. And if it's trapped in an unhealthy pattern, you're also slightly stuck. You're slightly stuck to their patterns. Very likely that you're feeling some of their stuff. The other part is, so we test that. Is your heart thread stuck with someone else's? And everyone has a few. They come with a few people that they want to talk about, their first love or their biggest heartbreak or blah, blah, blah. So you check, are you actually stuck with their energy? Because that's one thing. That would be a big one to try and release and bring the threads back. But then there's the ones where you're not stuck to the other person's energy. Your heart threads are stuck in a pocket of consciousness that is stuck in the heartbreak. So the breakup and all the emotions around that is where your heart threads are stuck to. So it's not even the person anymore. It's more like the story and the situation that happened. So you can pull your heart threads back from that. And then the third option is that it's neither of those. You're not stuck to someone else. You're not stuck to the heartbreak. You think it might be, but actually it's just all of the story has triggered your childhood wounding, or the big ones that we've talked about, betrayal, abandonment, that kind of thing. So when we do a heart retrieval, we're using creative kinesiology to check percentages, to check the kind of links, check the quality of the link, check what the picture looks like. And then we're using all the tools for clues about how we can start pulling the threads back, because for everyone it's a different thing. It could be a physical thing needed, a meridian thing needed. It could be, some sort of... we have a thing called dragon points, which is removing internal possession of thought forms. And, it's so much. I mean, creative kinesiology is awesome, and there's so many tools to pick on. And your body will say, this is how we're going to pull energy back from Bob, and this is how we're going to pull energy back from Jeff. And it might be totally different. And it's just an exploration. It's super interesting, and it's exciting because you're learning what kind of connection you were making with people, and how you were affected by it, and you're reclaiming your power. And the people I've worked with feel like some people have not come with a big story. They just want to kind of clear up. They want to have like a, you know, just tidy up the stories that they've had and go off into the new with a clear footing. And other people are like trapped in an old story and it's doing their head in, and they just really want to give their true wholehearted love to a new love. So it's been absolutely amazing journey working with this heart retrieval thing, and sexual energy retrieval goes with it. You know, we might have to do a bit of both, maybe, you know. And it's like when you have you know, when you can observe yourself having unhealthy urges towards people, you know, that you're attracted to, and being like, oh, I really want to like get with them for whatever, you know, for sexual reasons, and you're like, that's not really my higher self behaving like that. What's that about? So it's like looking at sexual energy as well, and we can look into entities and to put planetary forces and societal forces that might be pushing and pulling your drives and desires, and they might not be your true self. So it can go into so many directions, and because we use muscle testing, I never know which direction we're going in. So just in conclusion, really, is it's about you. It's about coming back to you in your wholeness. It's about loving you from your inner child to your higher self, from the gross parts to the hurt parts to the broken parts to the lost parts. And it's coming back to that full-on love for you, because no one else can do it for you. No one can come into your life and fix all of you. It's just not what I believe is the truth of why we're here. You're here because you really, really belong here, and you deserve to live from a full heart and full belonging and in full power of your energy, your sovereignty, your purpose, and your love of what you can share with others. So I think that when you have all your heart threads and you're not living ancestral pain and longing, it doesn't matter if you're with someone or not. It doesn't matter. You feel whole. So the heart retrievals are an hour and a half to 2 hours. I can do them on Skype. I can do them in person. And they are such an interesting piece of work. And if you want to talk about it more, my new website's just something that's been building for ages in the background, so that's not ready. But you can find, I think there's some posts on my business page a bit more about it if you want to know more. But yeah, I look forward to hearing from you, and let me know. Let me know what you think. I know there might have been like some hellos and I ignored them completely. Hi Annie, hi Martine. There was no questions as such. But yeah, I'm going to go and go do some yoga, and it has been a pleasure to be here again. I love you.